Welcome to Community Inspired, a podcast that explores the ideas and innovations shaping where and how we live. Brought to you by FivePoint, this podcast celebrates the Santa Clarita Valley and the people who make up the fabric of this incredibly special community. I'm your host, Kelly Nishimoto. Spring is in full bloom. What an excellent opportunity to discuss the great outdoors. Our majestic open space and easy access to nature is one of the things that truly distinguishes our beautiful region. Our guests today are going to share how we can enjoy and preserve the great outdoors in our very own backyard. Let's get started. Today, we are joined by Matt Carpenter. He is the Senior Vice President of Environmental Resources at FivePoint, Matthew Geldin, the head farmer at Farmscape, and Dianne Erskine-Hellrigel, President of the Community Hiking Club. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's start off with talking about what makes the natural environment and open spaces in Santa Clarita Valley unique and valuable to our residents.
The open spaces are so important. We have a lot of native animals in our area. We have bobcats, we have cougars, we have all kinds of reptiles. We have a number of endangered species as well.
What do you think, Matt, what makes the outdoor special here?
Well, the Santa Clarita Valley is rimmed by national forest and other publicly held land, so it makes it unique. What it's done is it creates a lot more access from the kind of urban core of the Santa Clarita Valley to those open areas, and I think the thing that is most unique is that the Santa Clara River flows through the middle of the Santa Clarita Valley, clear out to Ventura, and it kind of helps define the geography. The mountains flow down to the river, and everybody that lives in Santa Clarita has to kind of cross over it, drive by it, and it's not a thing that you will drive by and miss.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Matthew, from what you see and where you're from, what is like the defining factor of our outdoors?
Well, I mean, for me, my viewpoint is urban agriculture. And so to see along that river corridor expanse of orchards and farmland and cattle ranching that's all still active in this area and accessible from this community. And so I think this is a really unique and special place where you can have that immediate access to agriculture that used to be so prominent throughout Southern California and now still has the opportunity to be celebrated in this place.
Yeah, and such a short distance away. Like
Yeah.
we all get caught up in our younger years and like the Hollywood and the West Hollywood and you know what that has to offer. And literally you step 30 minutes outside of that and it's a whole beautiful world that's kind of unexpected of what people think of Los Angeles.
Absolutely.
How does outdoor living and access to open space contribute to Santa Clarita Valley's family culture and identity?
Well, I own a hiking club, and we take adults as well as children out into our various trails out here. And it's fantastic. Some of the kids have never been out on a hike before. They've never seen, anything like this before. And we see animals. Last time we went out, we saw a bobcat. The bobcat stopped and looked at us, and the kids stopped and looked at the bobcat. It was really cool for them to see, something like that. I don't know if you know, but Matt is putting in, 50 miles of trails?
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, I can't wait. I want to be the first one out there and hike.
You got it.
Matt, can you tell us about the open space preservation at Valencia?
Sure. We have a diverse array of open space areas. First, starting out, we have 10,000 of 15,000 acres, 2/3 is going into protected and funded natural open space. So that's after parks and all of those other kind of community-based open space areas. In that has areas that are down by the Santa Clara River all the way up to the top of the Santa Susana Mountains, and interspersed areas that are interesting within our community, some of which might have something like the San Fernando Valley Spineflower on it. And then within that, we will have a network of trails that start at the community level that make their way, in and around those natural areas, so it's fully integrated with the natural resources and the landscape that we're building in.
What is the thought process that goes into that? You have a bunch of land, you're building 50 miles of trail. What does that look like?
Well,
on
we don't
paper
we
and
don't
in
start
person?
with that.
Okay.
We know it's important, but we build communities at the city scale, and in doing that, we need to provide a diverse array of outdoor options from within your neighborhood and the park that's right there, to natural open space that's within your community that's down the street, but it's not parkland, it's there for protection, and then the broader landscape, the mountains around you, the river, and then we look at all of those different things and figure out how do we connect all those things from the front door to the park in your neighborhood, to the community park that is a public park, to an open space trail, and then out to the broader open space in the mountains. And we connect all those things together. And
Yeah, it's so easy to get lost and to forget what's outside of your four walls, because you're just so busy with life. And then the wonderful thing about Santa Clarita is once you step outside your door, it's literally accessible all around you. And I
we're
think that's very
surrounded
special.
by 20 Griffith parks.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
So
That's such a great way to phrase it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great. Yeah.
yeah.
I think to build on that idea of scales and the immediacy and the connection, the agricultural elements of it here are kind of similar, where, FivePoint is designing parks that incorporate community garden spaces, and then we have this, commercial scale agriculture that's happening just right outside, the community border, and that really that's being celebrated all at the same time. And, I see the opportunity to have those connections between that agriculture that's happening and the wellness lifestyle that people are craving, and the quality of food and the access to food that people are craving, and being able to reduce the footprint of, the carbon footprint of food access and where your food comes from and how far
Yes.
away your food comes from. And that's unique to this space. And I think it aligns with the other climate change goals of the community and sustainability goals of the community that FivePoint is really celebrating and elevating in a way that's unique to Valencia.
Okay, so how can we strike a balance between building much needed housing and commercial space while still preserving the environment? What's that balance?
Well, the balance goes to the basics of planning, where you look at high value resources and you incorporate that into your thinking and say, how can I take care of that and build in such a way that you still have an interface with it, but you're not, impacting it or building on top of it. And I think the balance is really, that's how we're able to step in and in some cases improve the environmental condition of certain areas. Human beings have been on the planet for a while, and we are able to reverse some things when it comes to non-native plants moving into the environment. They're everywhere, and it takes a lot of work to do that. And as a community developer, we're able to invest in that so that we're improving habitat where we're protecting it, and then trying to provide that access to the environment in a way that isn't going to hurt the environment either, right?
Matt, what inspired you personally to pursue a career in environmental resources? What's a little bit of your background?
Let's see. So I really like to fish, so I found myself working, going to streams and fishing, wanted to understand how streams work, and became kind of a hydrology wonk, and then learned more about the species that inhabit them besides the fish that I was trying to catch. And those were kind of part of my building blocks that started in my childhood, really. And then realizing, without realizing it at the time, that I grew up in a place that had access to things like that. But it was also the challenge. It's a divisive issue, shouldn't be, but it can be. And I thought there's a lot of problem solving that can be done and can do the things that I'm talking about habitat rehabilitation, and how do you get with a program that will help fund that, because those dollars do not fall out of the sky, and conservation takes a lot of work. So it's been a path, I should say, and I've been lucky to stay on it.
I'm sure that Matt knows about the spine flower, San Fernando Valley spine flower.
Absolutely, yeah.
This is the man right here who saved them. They actually were extinct on the records, and now they're not. So, I mean, this is an incredible person sitting here across from you.
Absolutely. It's an incredible story, and I think it, is exemplary of the culture of care that FivePoint has for the community and for the development here.
Yeah,
Where did you find this plant, and then how do you even start to regenerate it?
So the plant was known to be on our property, and it was another one of those things we had to figure out how to plan around. And so we came up with a conservation plan. We developed 7 different preserve areas within our planned community. Not all of them are where we're building today, but they're within the community. And then we also, and so that protected the primary population of that plant that was thought to be extinct. And in addition to that, we're providing funding for its perpetual stewardship, which means it's being managed by experienced professionals forever for the purpose of that plant persisting and improving. We also took a leap and developed another conservation strategy where we actually outplanted the spine flower on about 1,500 acres of property that we own. And it was actually the thing that turned the tide for the federal government to say this plant doesn't need to be listed as endangered. So it's been a really exciting process to be a part of, and it's taken a good part of my professional life to get there.
But it's such a cool legacy.
It is.
Okay, so now that takes us back to what you do. So Valencia FivePoint is building a community garden, or it's already built?
We already have a community garden in our first phase. We're in our first phase of move-ins where we've got 1,500 families living there, and so Farmscape and Matthew come out and help folks enjoy learning about kind of urban agriculture and how close agriculture is, and I'll let him speak for himself. But that was the idea, is to bring that into the community, and then we bring in other elements, like we have a farmers market now that comes in every weekend, and but the residents get a unique opportunity to work with someone like Matthew that he has an amazing track record in communities like ours all over Southern California.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to know how that actually operates and works. But we're going to talk to you first, Matthew. What inspired you to join Farmscape?
Yeah, sure. So Farmscape is a design, build, maintenance company that specializes in urban agriculture all across California at every scale. So we work in everything from backyard gardens to commercial campuses to master plan multifamily communities. And we have a farming staff. We have landscape architects on our staff, and we're licensed contractors. And so we really do everything from concept development of urban farm spaces all the way through building them up to maintaining them throughout their lifespan. And so in this kind of context, in a multifamily context, we are not just farming land, but also creating programming for communities to be able to have a relationship and connect with growing food around their homes.
So good point. So why is it important to connect people with nature and help them understand where their food comes from, and how are you integrating that into the community garden over at FivePoint?
Yeah, so I think people are just naturally drawn to it. When you are at a farm or when you're in a garden, it affects you viscerally. You have an emotional response to it, you have a physical response to it, and when you eat food that is grown with care and intention, or you have a relationship to where it comes from, it feels different. It's like knowing the terroir of wine, or understanding just where anything delightful, beautiful, delicious comes from, and it affects you and your experience. And I think that it has a rippling effect in your life too, and can improve and increase your personal wellness, your community wellness. I think that it's a catalyst for bringing people together. We like to talk about breaking bread and breaking ground. And so I think that those are really important experiences that really improve. Connecting children with where their food comes from is, I think, a really essential experience. I think that when you eat food that comes out of a box or comes off of a shelf, you don't have any relationship with what it is or where it's from or what it means for your body or how to live a healthy lifestyle. And I think that that experience with growing food creates a really visceral, deep connection to that opportunity.
Yeah, I think people forget like what it does to you when you're touching the earth, when you're actually, your hands are in it, your feet are on it. I have a special needs daughter, and she's a typical teenager. She loves music, she wants to sing, she loves fashion, she wants to go shopping, she wants to buy all the new makeup. She doesn't like to really do anything outside. So the only plant I can keep alive is a succulent. So I went to Lowe's, got some pots, and I said, Maddie, you're going to help me with the succulents today. She sat out there with me for 3 hours with her hands in the dirt, completely focused, loved every moment of it.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah, I was
So
just
cool.
in a farm space yesterday giving a tour to a group of adults, and I watched a 50-year-old man put his hands in freshly sifted compost with a giddy smile like a little child. And, I want everyone to be able to have that experience. Like, how often, as grown adults do we feel like childlike joy just from, putting our hands in compost?
Okay, imagine I am a brand new FivePoint resident. Walk me through what that looks like to be a resident at FivePoint and to participate in the community garden.
Yeah, so we helped establish a community gardening club at FivePoint, and so the residents now have actually taken over the garden space themselves, and they manage it independently. So they're a chartered club in the community, and they have their own organization, and we help them establish that. And so they are out there on I think a weekly basis now, maintaining that garden, and they take care of everything from the planting and the maintenance and the sharing of the produce. And then we've also been hosting some farm-to-table events, really trying to celebrate the farmers market. And so we've had a number of events at the Valencia Porch and the Garden Home where we've literally just gone to the farmers market, bought a bunch of stuff that's in season, prepared it that day, and then served it to residents and other members in the community. And so I think that the idea there is just to celebrate how delicious, beautiful, accessible that produce is, and the value and joy and beauty of seasonal eating.
Mm-hmm. And the response from the community is
it's
amazing.
electric. Yeah, it's electric.
If you're not getting outside, you're missing out.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
You really are.
Okay, so Dianne, that brings me to you. So I want to know a little bit more about your background and what you're doing for FivePoint and your hiking club.
Okay, the hiking club came about after one of my hikes up Everest. And I thought, people need to do this. And so we started the hiking club, and at first it was for health, get the people out there. And then it became all about nature. And it's been so great. I teach wilderness survival to the kids. So if they ever get lost, they know exactly what to do. And so that's partially what we do. But we do a lot of it. And we do a lot of outreach. We have something like 2,700 people that hike with us now. Not all at once, but... and we have some terrific leaders that take the people out every weekend. And we do field trips, educational field trips. We have one of our board members is a geologist, and so we went out and followed the San Andreas Fault, pointed out folded rock and things like that, and we followed the San Andreas, and we found sag ponds and all kinds of cool things. So it's a lot of fun.
Where did your love for the outdoors begin?
When I was 2 years old, out with my mom, trugging along after her on the trail.
So she was a big hiker too?
Huge.
Yeah.
And she taught me to pick up things on the trail, bubblegum wrappers and things like that, and no other organics or anything. But she taught me my whole life, and we hiked until she died. So yeah, it was just wonderful
Yeah.
to be out with her. And we'd lug picnics up into the forest, and we had a lot of fun, you know. And,
What are your favorite trails in Santa Clarita, and what makes them so special?
well, I'll tell you, I love them all because they all have something different to offer. But there is a trail that not too many people know about, and I love it because the Tataviam used to come from the Pacoima area, come up and over the hills to deer hunt here. And there's a number of caves where they spent the night, and they had fires, and so you can see the carbon on the ceiling. You know, they didn't do any, you know, artwork or anything inside the caves, but, you know, they did do that, and it was a lot of fun. There's another trail that I actually don't take people to because it's a dream rock, which the mothers, the Tataviam mothers, used to teach their female daughters how to grind corn in the rock. But the rock is sandstone, and so there's no way you could eat anything that came out of there. But it was training for the girls, and so they learned how to use a mortar and pestle, and so those are my two favorite places.
Very nice. Well, how have you seen FivePoint's conservation efforts positively impact the local environment and its access to nature?
I have been impressed by FivePoint since I first met them, you know, especially Matt. He's been amazing. Where else would you find an ecologist that builds houses? You know, I'm just so impressed.
When you think about it, it works perfectly
It
for
does.
where we live.
It really does. And, I mean, you know, they're building trails, they're doing all these wonderful things. And when I heard about the trails, I couldn't stop jumping up and down. I was so excited. But I'd like to get him up on Kilimanjaro sometime.
Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Are you working with FivePoint, or are you just a local friend
I'm just a
Yeah.
friend and an admirer, and no, we don't work together. But I really appreciate him, you know, and I see the wonderful things that FivePoint is doing over and above, you know, other companies that build and, you know, roll over the land.
Yeah, and FivePoint has a legacy in agriculture. How does that history influence the developments today?
Well, it influences in a lot of different ways. I mean, agriculture was what we started doing in the 1880s when our company first acquired the property, and we are, I think, emblematic of California's its own evolution over time, including housing development and, you know, building communities. But I think that, you know, we continue to embrace our agricultural heritage. It's part of where that stewardship started. There's plenty of property that we own that is not a place where you'd want to try and do agriculture because it's too rugged. But it's definitely part of our foundation, and we really appreciate where our land came from, and we like that we are able to hold on to that part of our legacy.
I was just going to say those operations are still happening. You know, there's still
Yeah.
a lot of agriculture on the property, from annual vegetable cultivation to orcharding, mostly citrus and avocado orcharding, and livestock operations too.
Yeah, that is a good nexus between our present day community planning and development relationship with our agricultural land, the livestock program that we have that is meant to do a lot of things. In some cases, we're doing habitat management with it. Sometimes we're doing fuel management for wildfire purposes. And then we're also testing it in terms of what happens kind of in that commercial agriculture environment. And we couldn't do it without still having a functioning agricultural, you know, department within our company. So it's kind of an interesting synergy.
So I'm going to go to each of you, and I want you to leave a tidbit or like a piece of inspiration for our community about FivePoint and farmscaping and our hiking trails.
You're staring at me.
Well, I'm going to go around. Yes. Just like a little snippet for someone who might be interested or wants to know more.
I think that appreciating the relationship between a company like ours and I use that term strongly, stewardship, which is, it's the stewardship of building a community about, protecting or managing its natural resources and creating the relationship between the people that live there with the environment, that whether we're building it, whether we're protecting it, we're building relationships with the great outdoors, which is what we were here to talk about, right?
That's right, the great outdoors.
I love the group, Matt's group, because he does do stewardship. He does take care of the land. He loves the land. And that's what I do. And one of the big things that I do is I take care of the environment through legislation. I do federal legislation. And I've protected 547,000 acres of wilderness. And I've protected 6 wild and scenic rivers and done some monuments. I'm doing the last monument now that is available in basically in our district. And after that, nothing else will qualify. Mm-hmm. So, I love to do that, and it's kind of like something that my mother endured or gave to me, and said, you need to do as much as you can. So, and she encouraged me.
Do as much as you can.
Do as much as you can. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Very nice. Matthew, is there anything that you want to leave our guests with today about?
I have to follow that.
Do what you can.
Do what you can. I think that there's 2 things that come to mind. One is you can grow your own food and start small. It can be something as small as growing some herbs in some pots, and it can be as, evolving from there as, raised beds or, even converting part of your yard into a mini fruit tree orchard. Depending on your level of commitment, enthusiasm, time, there's a lot of things you can do. But I think that one of the benefits of a community farm space is that you can share the resources and share the workload. And so if you are someone who doesn't have the knowledge or the time in your busy schedule to always be out there and maintain a garden entirely on your own, you can share that load with your neighbors. And that's a really beautiful opportunity. But, starting wherever you can, starting small, do what you can.
Yes, do what you can.
Is I think, a great starting point. And then the other thing, too, is come check out the farmers market at the Porch at Valencia. It's a really beautiful, really active farmers market with some great local vendors and really good quality food.
I've been, and I was very impressed. You have to leave with something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or many things.
Many. It's impossible to not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt and Matthew and Dianne, for joining us today. It was a pleasure speaking to the 3 of you, and we look forward to bringing you future installments of the Community Inspired Podcast and introducing you to other interesting people who are strengthening our community in the months to come. Thank you so much. Have a great day.